Good afternoon, to all participants. I welcome the day 7 of certificate course on programming skill development using R and Python. And now we are in the third day of R programming, and we already covered 4 days in Python. So today, a very important topic, we are discussing case studies in R programming. So on behalf of Department of Statistics, I welcome resource person, Mr. MC Prakash, to take over this proceeding. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, good afternoon to all. I hope all of you had a good weekend. As Saktivel sir said, today is the last day and the interesting day for R because we are going to discuss a real-time case study. Before going on to the case study, let me start with 3 doubts which were asked on last Saturday. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So the first doubt was whether decimal values can be rounded off. So it can be done using the round function. So here I have given 5.3456 decimal value as input, and I have asked the round function to round it to 3 digits. Hence it has rounded it to 5.346. Let's try for a different value. Now I have changed the value to 7.8573 and I have changed the rounding of digits to 2. We can see the result as 7.86. Let me move on to the next doubt. The next doubt was whether we can create multi-dimensional arrays. Yes, we can create multi-dimensional arrays. So I have written an example with 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional and 5-dimensional arrays. Similarly, you can create arrays of any dimension. Now let's see how those arrays look like when executed in R Studio. The first one is a 2-dimensional array with 2 rows and 3 columns. So this is a normal one, and you can see the output on the screen. So the values 5, 9, 3, 10, 11 and 12 are filled column wise. Now let's try the example for 3-dimensional arrays. So for 3-dimensional arrays, the first argument 2 indicates the number of rows in dimension equal to C of 232. The second argument indicates the number of columns. So we have 2 rows and 3 columns. The third argument indicates the third dimension. So here there will be a total of 2 into 3 into 2, which is 12 values. And since the dimensions are 2 and 3, we will have 2 arrays of 6 values each. I hope you get it. The total number of values is 12 and each array will have 6 values. So 12 by 6 is 2. We will have 2 arrays of 6 values each. you can see the output displayed on the screen. The values are arranged column wise, starting from the first value to the last value. Now let's try a similar example for 4 dimensions. Of course, in industry, we may not require more than 3 dimensions, but just wanted to give you an idea of how arrays of 4 or higher dimensions will look like. So in a 4-dimensional array, we will have 2 into 3 into 2 into 2, that is 24 values. So this is based on the value that I have given. So I have given dimension equal to C of 2, 3, 2, 2. So with respect to this case, we will have 24 values. And how will it do? So first we have to know the number of values in a array. So it will be 2 into 3, that is 2 rows and 3 columns, so 6 values. And then we have 2 more dimensions, 2 and 2. 2 into 2 is 4. So we will have 4 arrays with 6 values each. So you can see the output on the screen. We have 4 arrays of 6 values each. Similarly, when we go for 5 dimensions, we will have a total of 2 into 3 into 2 into 2 into 2, which is nothing but 48 values. So we will have a total of 8 arrays of 6 elements each. So total number of values is 48. Values per array is 6. So 48 by 6 equal to 8 arrays. So we can see the output with 8 arrays with 6 values each. Similarly, you can try for any number of dimensions. The third doubt was whether why we are not appending L to integers while defining them in, say, a list or a vector. So previously there were certain inbuilt functions which won't work unless the values are integers, but now we don't have such inbuilt functions in use, and hence it's enough if you just know that by appending L after a number you can convert it into an integer. Now we have discussed all the 3 doubts that we asked on day 2. Now let us move on to the summary of what we discussed on day 2. So on day 2 we discussed data structures in R. As usual, we will summarize with the help of an example. So we know that we discussed 5 major data structures: vectors, matrices, arrays, lists, and data frames. Now let's see the example which will help summarize the data structures in our topic. So first I have created a data frame with some names and a subject Max. So you can see on the screen the names of 10 students who are studying MSc and their max marks. So here we have used the concept of data frame and also the vector concept. So the columns name and max are nothing but vectors. Name is a vector with character data type, and max is a column, a vector with values of numeric data type. Now I am adding one more subject called physics. Of course, physics is also a column which is a vector with values of numeric data type. So this is an example of adding a column to a vector. Similarly, I am doing it for the subject chemistry too. I am adding a column chemistry to the data frame MSc. So repeating the same concept for computer science, we have a total of 4 columns or 4 subjects and the marks of each of the 10 students in those subjects. Now let's see how the concept of list is used in this example. I have added a student called Surya and the marks of Surya in maths, physics, chemistry, and computer science. Since we have character data type in name and numeric data type in all the remaining subjects, I have used list. And this is also an example of adding a row to a data frame. Now we have covered the concepts data frame, vector, and list. We have matrix and arrays pending. Let's see how they are used in this example. So I have created a 2 by 2 matrix with 4 random values. So I have taken the max mark of Kumaran, MSc of 1, 2. First row is Kumaran and second column is max, hence 89. Then 10th row, second column, that is max mark of Pungodai. Then second row, second column. So second row we have Jesus and second column max. Max marks of Jesus, which is 75. And finally, we have row 11, column 2. So Surya's max marks, which is 87. Similarly, I am creating one more matrix. So this matrix 2 is a 2 by 2 matrix with 4 values. First row, third column, which is the physics mark of Kumaran, 88. Then 10th row, third column, Pungodai's physics mark, 98. Then 11th row, third column, Surya's physics mark, 86. Then second row, sorry, I missed one value. Second row, third column before 11,3. So in second row, third column, we have the physics mark of Jesus, which is 74. Now we will use these two matrices to understand the concept of arrays. I am simply adding both the matrices containing maths and physics marks. I am storing it to a variable called MSC1. Now I am creating an array with 2 dimensions, that is 1 row and 4 columns, and the values will be taken from the variable MSC1, which is the sum of maths and physics marks. As you can see on the screen, MSC1 is a 2 by 2 matrix, but when applying the concept of arrays, that is array function with 1 row and 4 columns, you can see the output with 4 values of 1 row and 4 columns. Hence, we have used all the 5 major data structures that we studied on last Saturday. I hope this gives you a good idea about data structures in R. Now we will move on to the interesting case study, which is based on a real-time problem. So the case study is predicting medical expenses using linear regression. So I will first tell you what the case study or real-time business problem is. We have to predict the health insurance premium values for a client named Emblem Health in USA. So Emblem Health provides insurance policies to people in USA. So let me first help you understand the concept of health insurance. All of us know LIC in India. LIC is known for life insurance policies. LIC also has health insurance policies. In India, we don't give much importance to health insurance policies. Some of the reasons are medical expenses are relatively less. That is, let's take an example where I am suffering from fever. If I go to the doctor, I will be able to pay money from my pocket. But that's not the case in USA. If you pay money from your pocket, even for a simple disease like fever, it will be very expensive. Hence, people in US compulsorily take health insurance policies. The second point is, in India, we can buy medicines even without a doctor's prescription. That is, I can directly go to the medical shop, ask the chemist there for a medicine saying that I am suffering from fever, and he or she will give me the necessary medicine. That's not the case in US. In US, the rules and regulations are very strict, and hence medicines won't be given without a doctor's prescription. Third one is, after coronavirus, that is COVID, even people in India have started taking health insurance policies. People who already have health insurance policies